York, and welcome. I'm Megyn Kelly, and we begin this morning with money and one woman's unapologetic quest to get lots of it. In a now viral op-ed penned over the weekend, best-selling author Jessica Knoll says she wants to be rich and she's not sorry. Why is this controversial? Well, apparently it is, because she's a woman, because she's not supposed to say that, because she's not supposed to feel that. That is what some still believe in this country. Knoll is no stranger to the headlines. Her 2015 debut novel, Luckiest Girl Alive, did you guys read this? This was a huge hit. It became an instant bestseller all over the world. It's about a woman who's trying to reinvent herself after a gang rape and then the relentless bullying that followed. At the time of the book's release, it was a novel. Knoll insisted over and over again that the book was pure fiction. But a year later, we learned the truth. We'll speak with Jessica in a minute, but first, some background on her story. Watch this.
It's been out. I have just fielded so many questions, mostly from women who have asked me, how did you write what happened to Ani so realistically?
Readers were captivated by The Luckiest Girl Alive, in awe of how well first-time author Jessica Knoll captured intimate details of such a horrifying event.
It really killed me to see the looks on these women's faces when I would say, oh no, I just made it up. And they would just have this look of just such disappointment, like, oh, okay, I guess this is something we don't talk about. This is something that we should be ashamed of. And I just never wanted to see that look on anyone's face again.
Which is why, nearly a year after the book was released, she finally told the truth, revealing that what many thought was fiction was, in fact, based on her own story.
I wish I could go back in time and show my 15-year-old self a flash of the future. I just think she would have held on to that with all her might, and it would have helped her through.
Knoll says she was gang raped at age 15 and relentlessly taunted by bullies.
I look back on that year, and I just remember feeling completely raw. Like I felt like an exposed nerve. Like if you just touched me, I just shriveled up in pain.
The book was optioned by Lionsgate to be turned into a movie with Big Little Lies star Reese Witherspoon producing. Now Knoll is out with a new novel, but making headlines with an op-ed in the New York Times, I want to be rich and I'm not sorry. In it, she is unapologetic about her desire to be wealthy, despite conflicting messages for men and women when it comes to making money, saying if anyone calls that obnoxious, I want to do what men do, and shrug. Jessica Knoll, welcome to you.
Thank you.
I love the op-ed. I thought it was amazing, and I think it's sad that it's controversial for a woman to stand up and say that in 2018 America. You say in the op-ed, rich is still a man's word. Mm-hmm. What does that mean?
I think it's, well, first of all, after watching that package, I'm extremely emotional all over again. Yes, I do say in the essay that rich is still a man's word because it feels like men are allowed to seek wealth and to seek power in a way that women are not. And these are ambitions I've had for myself for a long time, and they were definitely compounded by what happened to me in high school. But I always felt I couldn't say them out loud. So I said
you were taught that. You were taught that by society.
And I was also taught to be very accommodating of other people's expectations of me. I mean, so many times over the years, the assumption was just, you'll get married, you'll have kids, and maybe you'll continue to work. And I would just let that pass, even though in my head I was like, I have a different vision for my life. Mm. And I never felt comfortable correcting anybody.
Can we talk about the trauma? Because you have so many fans who read that book and loved it. I mean, that's why it was so successful. And the dedication, the main character in the book is named Tiffany Finelli, and the dedication at the beginning is to all the Tiffany Finellis of the world, I know. Mm-hmm. So all these women started coming up to you saying, did this happen to you? Is this a memoir? Is this based on your life story? And you would not admit it until you finally came out in a Lenny letter. This is, Lena Dunham has this site where women write these Lenny letters talking about what's happened in their lives. And you wrote, I've been running and I've been ducking and I've been dodging because I'm scared. I'm scared people won't call what happened to me rape because for a long time, no one did. Mm-hmm. So what gave you the courage to finally come out and tell the truth about the fact that Tiffany Finelli's story was based on your own?
It was the women I met at my events who would come up to me with tears in their eyes and say, did that happen to you? That happened to me. And I would always shy away from saying yes. And I would see this kind of heartbreak in their eyes. They were looking to connect. They were looking to share their story because this has happened to so many of us, and so many of us, it's double trauma because you have to remain silent about it, or you are silenced about it, which is what happened to me. And it just never occurred to me to be honest about it because I hadn't been for so long. And over the course of the year that Luckiest Girl Alive came out, I started thinking, these women have been so brave to come forward and tell me their stories. I owe it to them to do the same.
Did you know in your head at that point, after you've written the book, it's a huge success and people are asking, did you know that you had been gang raped? Because I know you talked about how you were called a slut. You got very, very drunk when you were 15 and 3 different boys took advantage of you. And you were slut-shamed after that, like you had been a willing participant. Did they convince you of that?
No, I always knew in my heart what had happened. And I did, and I say this in the Lenny essay, I did confront my rapist, and I called him a rapist. And the next day, he was nearly in tears about it. And so I apologized to him, and I took it back. And that's how deeply ingrained it is in us as women to put other people's feelings above our own.
You write about that in the Lenny letter. It was one of the lines that jumped out at me. And you said, I did call it rape once in a drunken conversation with a boy, which is how she refers to the main boy in that trio. The next day, I called and apologized. I apologized to my rapist for calling him a rapist. What a thing to live with. Did you ever have another conversation with him? Like, since you've sort of come out and owned this?
No. And I don't want to, I don't need to, if I don't owe those boys anything.
Absolutely. But to your credit, you managed to take this trauma, which wound up defining your life in many ways, and use it. It damaged you, and it made you sort of pursue certain avenues that you may not otherwise have pursued. But in the end, you know, this op-ed, I see it as almost triumphant. You saying, I've come into my own. I am an ambitious woman. I have a desire to be successful, to make money, to be the #1 author. And to me, it's like breaking free of these chains that were around you. You tell me how it makes you feel.
Yeah, I was always ambitious. It's just in my makeup. And my parents have a really strong work ethic, and they taught that to me as well. And I think that what happened to me compounded that ambition that was already there. It really made me, I felt I had no agency in my life, and so it became very important to me to be able to stand on my own 2 feet. And I say in the essay, you know, I want to make the kind of money that allows me to afford a shark of a lawyer if any man ever tries to lay a finger on me again. And that's all I could have wanted when I was 15. Like, if I could have had the money and the power to hire people to protect me, it would have gone a long way in terms of helping me heal at a younger age.
And of course, the truth is you can absolutely want a lot of money because you want to have a nice home, you want to take a nice vacation,
right.
You know, and you don't have to apologize for that. That's part of the American dream, right? And I know you're saying you're writing this, you're putting it in writing, which for some reason is still revolutionary in this country for a woman, in part because of the Gina Davis Media Center and what they say.
Right. They do incredible work. They're dedicated to increasing female representation on screen, to increasing representation of people of color. And they have this motto, if she can see it, she can be it. And that's why I said it, because I think sometimes we just have to say it. We're walking around carrying this inside of us. And you're looking to connect to other like-minded women. And the essay has helped me, once again, the way the Lenny essay did, it connected me to so many women who shared my experience. This New York Times essay has also connected me to so many women who say, yes, I feel exactly the same way. Thank you for finally being the one to say it.
Because there's such pressure still to be a different way, to be, you know, the nurturer whose ambition, if it exists, takes second seed to that of her husband or that of her man. And you write about the conflicting messages of millennial womanhood. You must be ambitious, but not bossy. Strong, but skinny. Honest, but polite. Supportive of your fellow sisters' success, while a culture encourages and loves girl fights. I mean, we're still battling through all of this because we haven't yet emerged out the other side of, like, we got away from the 1950s woman, you know, who was only expected to do one thing. And then we got the 1970s version who were burning their bras and they had the middle finger up. I call it the double barrel. That's the double middle finger. The double barrel up, right, for all patriarchy that made such strides. But then we sort of got stuck in this place for so long where we're expected to do everything and be everything. And I feel like your letter is sort of pointing to, or maybe not. You don't have kids. You are successful. You are going for the money and for the riches and for the success. You insisted on writing your own screenplay with the Reese Witherspoon project. And what do you say? Like, what do you think is the next step for millennial women like you?
Right. Well, I think there's all different kinds of definitions of success and ambition. And this is just mine personally. And obviously, a lot of other women share it. And you brought up, you know, we've come a long way from the 1950s. And it's interesting because back then, really the only women who had any measure of power or money were the women of Hollywood. And if you look at the way the tabloids reacted to that, which was to pit them against each other, starting famously with the Joan Crawford and Bette Davis feud. And so it instituted this culture where instead of encouraging women to come up together, we put them in competition with one another.
And women can do it to other women.
And women can do it to other women, but not because we are inherently like that. I do believe it's a culture that raises us to be like that. So I'm always responding to those sorts of cultural pressures and expectations and conflicts in my fiction and in the characters I create to hopefully get people thinking in a different way.
Because you have a new book out.
I do.
Called...
Yes. The Favorite Sister.
And that one's got female villains.
Yes.
And female heroines, and is, again, going to be a bestseller. You're going to see it everywhere on the beaches this week, or this summer, so buy it. Comes out May 15th?
May 15th.
Yeah, so you can get it. You can pre-order it now. But congrats on all your amazing
Thank you.
success. The first book in 38 countries. This one's probably going to beat that.
Let's hope.
Do we have more than 38 countries that buy American books? We'll see. Congrats on your success. And I, too, hope you are wealthy beyond measure in all areas of your life. We'll be right back.
Hello, Today fans. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking that button down there and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives.